Public opinion on this conflict has often been sharply divided. So we wanted to take a look at how things have changed. Sebastien Dallaire is the Executive Vice President for Eastern Canada for Léger, a firm that's done polling on the Israel-Hamas war, and he joins us now from Montreal. And Sebastien, as you look at the data from your polling, where's public opinion right now in regards to this war?
I think what we're hearing from the Canadian government today is likely to land roughly where Canadians would generally want it to land, because what we've noticed over time is Canadians are fairly hesitant to really take a strong position. On the one hand, they really don't like to hear and see the suffering. And we can think that what has happened over the past couple of days and all those declarations about famine really setting in will only reinforce this feeling that something needs to be done. And we heard that in Mark Carney's statement, using the word intolerable when he talked about the level of human suffering. So that is likely to end well, to land well. At the same time, Canadians are not that likely to really push for a lot more support for the Palestinians if Hamas maybe could be involved. So talking about Hamas being in there is also something that will likely land well with public opinion, saying that Hamas should not be involved, but that we need to do something. This idea that we need to do something is clearly going to be popular among Canadians from what we've measured over time.
Yeah, and so as you've measured it over time, are there moments that stand out where you saw sharp changes in opinion on this?
Not so much. In fact, opinions have been quite stable over the past year. We've asked similar questions a year ago on whether people felt that, for example, that Israel was committing genocide, which was a word that has been thrown around a lot over the past year. And the numbers haven't really moved much over the past year. Same thing when we asked them if they're paying a lot of attention. The numbers have been fairly stable, which tends to happen when we think about international conflicts, international news. When it lasts over a long period, people tend to go back to their everyday lives. They're paying attention, but it's not their main focus. And that's probably what we're seeing with this conflict right now.
You've looked at the difference in opinion between the United States and Canada on this issue. What did you find?
Well, interestingly, when we contrast the positions of leadership in both countries, especially when we contrast the positions taken by Mark Carney, or in fact, the very careful approach of Mark Carney so far, maybe less so now, but over previous months, he has been very careful in what he said. We compare this to what Donald Trump has been saying, which has been much more controversial, much more in your face in many ways. We see that public opinion is actually very similar. You see Americans being somewhat careful about how they judge the situation. There's a little bit more of a partisan divide, not surprisingly, with Republicans and Democrats not sharing similar views. But generally speaking, it's surprising just how much Americans and Canadians are like when they're looking at what's happening in the Middle East.
So, if you were to graph this, I assume that this is one of these issues where at the extremes, the interest is very high and deeply entrenched. And now it sounds like in the middle, it's not a top of mind issue, but you tell me.
It's not, well, it's well known, but is it a top of mind issue on a daily basis? Not really. It's latent, it's there, it's in the background. People are concerned. But at the same time, what we're seeing, and it's not new, we've measured this in the past as well, including in past decades when we talk about the conflict in the Middle East, that Canadians are fairly pessimistic about the possibilities of really solving this in the long run. So that also makes Canadians more likely to, over time, just drift away from the news and hoping something is going to change, but not being deeply personally involved.
Well, we know the politicians are watching the polling as well, so interesting to have a sense of what numbers they're likely seeing as well. Sebastien Dallaire, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Sebastien is the Executive Vice President of Eastern Canada for Léger.